Yo, what is up guys, ShinobiEevee here back again with another video for you guys. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again with some more Epic 7. And today we're going to be doing a tier list, an RGB tier list on who you guys should be choosing. And this is more for newer players, more than old players. Older players with these Selector tickets specifically are going to be mostly going for imprints and whatnot, because they already have majority of these characters. So this is mostly for newer players. But even if you are an older player and you do see my channel as somebody who has been playing for a couple of years, not a long time, not a veteran by any means, but I've been playing the game for a couple of years to know at least the basics, I think that this tier list will be pretty informative and help out some newer players who are just getting into the game like me, who probably want to get into PvE, PvP, and need help with that, though there are a lot of changes. And also, before we get into this, there is a client, it looks like, that they got right here. I don't know if it's ready, but I am currently downloading it at the moment, so hopefully that ends up working. But hey, if the client works, the client works. I didn't even know they were going to have it in so soon because I knew they announced it. But either way, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more, and let's go ahead and get straight into this. Now, this is probably a little bit different from how most people's tier lists look, outside of the fact that we got the one Xeno unit, which is basically there for the memes, and the collab units that you will not be able to select from the Selector ticket, or from even just the random tickets that you're going to get. And Freed is only here due to the fact that obviously you won't be able to use those tickets on her because her banner is still there. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to sort this by element before we do anything. And we're going to start up here with the PvE must have, or basically free category. These are characters that you will be getting either for free or you must have for PvP, or not PvP, PvE, and some of them could be good in PvP, but that's basically what we're doing there. And we're just gonna go by element. So obviously let's start off with some of the free ones. So you're gonna get a free cigarette, obviously, because of Wyvern. We know now you're getting free breed from if I'm connect, it's gonna be not connections, but man, I haven't done it in so long. But it's like when you get the game started up, it's like one of the events where they have like a whole timeline's worth of stuff that you gotta do. And I know it's gonna come to me later. It's not connections though, something else, and I already finished it. I don't know for older players if they're gonna allow us to just get him because we already completed it or not. Like, I've already completed all of my rewards for that certain event that you get as a new player in the beginning. But for the most part, he'd basically be free. Same with Tenebrian, so that's going to be in there. Obviously you're going to get from connections. She's pretty good, helps with AoE attacks and whatnot, so not too much to say with that, but still pretty decent. And then let's see, where's all of our other free units that we're going to get here? I think this is it for the blue tier, because the rest of these you can either get from summons, or you will end up getting them from story or whatever it may be. Though some of them you will have to, might as well just go and wait for their banner to come back. But majority of these characters you can either get from, of course, summer, obviously being the summer units, and of course story mode. And some of them you can just get them. Moving on to fire units. So let's go here. So as we already know, she's going to be up there with Break, so she's going to be in connections. If I was looking at the notes right, she's going to be in connections now, so that's basically a free unit. You don't got to go and summon for her in the beginning of the game. Surmia, you're automatically going to get because of obviously Wyvern. So, once again, that's another Wyvern unit that you can get for free. Let's see, who else are we getting for free here? Bomb model Luluka, or bomb model, not Luluka, Kana. So you will be getting her also in connections, and if you build her correctly, she can be pretty good. I don't personally use her, but it's a free unit nonetheless, and can help you actually beat some of the Wyvern. So that's not too bad. And I think she's actually pretty good in Abyss too, if I'm correct, if you have the right gear for her. But for the most part, she is a free unit. Who else we got here that is going to be free for the fire units? I think that's pretty much it that I know of. So, and before anybody who's wondering, I'm like just mostly ranking them on these are like combination of PvE must have / free units. So I might as well just put free units, put free up in here too, honestly, because you're gonna be getting these units for free how. Let's see, and I'm gonna make sure I don't have any other collab units in here, because you cannot get them, Moving on down to your grass units, you're gonna get, oh no, Destina. Okay, so Destina would be one of the ones where she's not free, but it's gonna be basically the main one you get. Having a cleanser slash somebody who can heal your whole team off of her S1, her S2, and her S3. Mostly her S3 and her S1. If you use your soul, you can heal your whole team. But the S3 specifically, being able to res your whole entire team too, like in story mode, that's really, really helpful. I've been using Destina pretty much throughout my whole entire story mode clear. I'm at Zio right now in chapter 5 or chapter 4-10. So Destina about becoming real clutch there, but easily one of the better units. She's obviously fell off a little bit in PvP, but in PvE, easily one of the best units to have. And speaking of one of the best units to have, where is Iseria and Roana? So Roana and Iseria here, easily two of the greatest units to have in the game. And you're even gonna get Vivian for free too, obviously through, of course, you know, Wyvern. So throw her up here too. But Roana and Iseria, like once again, like for the longest time, even to this day, Roana, Iseria, Tenebrian, and then Breek also got added to this, but easily top 4 if you want to throw Destina in there. Must have, like, for the longest time, like healing plus revive, and then on top of that, the ability to reset Tenebrian to where she can use her S3 and go straight into idle mode. And then Breek is just Breek, like he's the unit to bring the PvE, and I'm so glad they're giving him away for free because I don't have him yet, and I've been struggling a little bit on PvE. Just due to the fact that I don't have him at the moment, so he's going to be really nice to add. But either way, easily one of those units that must have. must have. And also free unit. In fact, I'm pretty sure a majority of these units, as of right now, you can either get them from clearing your Wyvern quests, or Wyvern quest, or you're going to get them from connections. That's basically this tier list in a nutshell, and they're all really, really good units, with some of them being able to be used in PvE, or not PvE, PvP, though you won't see them as often, they still can be used, like Roana obviously, and Destina being two of those ones that you might see, though really low chance, especially with all the stuff that's out right now. So, I mean, without further ado, got one more left actually, which could be the Immortal Wukong, and he's mostly there for Rift, at least for now, because, a couple more months there might be some changes, so he's definitely going to be up there for Rift. In fact, if you build him correctly, you should be able to get some pretty OP gear. I'm really looking forward to trying him out because I just got him recently when he came out for the first time. So hey, let's move on down to, of course, PvP. So let's move on down to, I wouldn't even say necessarily these are like PvP only based units, but these would be the ones that you need to have if you're gonna go into PvP, depending on what you're gonna be doing here. So obviously Narwhal being one of those units, easily especially with Frida now, like Frida basically enables Narwhal to get her S3 off with souls for free. Like, it's not even a question of you're gonna be able to make your opponent waste turns, or your opponent waste turns. It's just gonna be a thing unless you just ban her or outspeed her. That's pretty much it, or just straight up resist. Like, that's basically Narwhal in a nutshell. Easily one of the most OP fire units as far as openers go. Now moving on to the next one. Now this one, hold on, I need to take Benning more out here. He's a collab unit. Next one I would have to say is up there, but also has fallen off a little bit, is Lilius. Now Lilius can also be in the must-have for PvE, but she's more on the PvP side, and depending on how you build her, you can easily be able to get some crazy stuff going with her due to the fact that she gives, shield, she's able to help not debuff, she's able to help cleanse, my bad, and just overall a pretty decent unit. She has fallen off a little bit, but if you build her pretty tanky, she's, I would say, pretty solid. Let's see who else we got here. Festive Ida, I would say she's good for PvP, though situational, due to the fact how her passive works with the shyness. So she's one of those units where if you see somebody pull out a Narwhal or something like that, you could kind of like throw this in maybe. But there's also better units that you could also use, so I'd probably even throw her in the decent tier. But in fact, actually, I'd probably be where I put her is decent tier, just due to she can be used in PvP, but do you really want to use over a lot of the other options, especially what's going on right now? Probably not. So you know, not a bad unit, but a decent unit. Now, of course, moving on to the next unit here. So, I probably should have made another team or another tier list here, because I don't know. Some of these characters could use a buff. Some of them are just decent. I would say Abigail's up in the decent tier. Could definitely be usable in PvP. I like this tier right here is the I can be used, but you're probably not gonna see me tier. Versus this tier where it's like, okay, I'm pretty much dead. That's basically it. That's probably where you'd end up putting haste. Could definitely use a buff, but it's still definitely usable. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So after this couple of units, honestly, they're kind of like there at this point, or have fallen off from like the crazy tier. So yeah, Kayron and Kerouac easily have fallen off pretty hard with that. Now ML Kerouac, aka God Hand, as I would like to call him. Yeah, he's a monster, but considering he's a Moonlight unit, obviously he won't be here. Summertime Assyria, I'll put in decent, but you have to have a certain team with her in order for her to work properly, so that's why I'm putting her here. Tenebria, I would say that she's kind of in the PvP, but at the same time, just decent. There's gonna be a lot of units that end up getting thrown here, by the way. Like, I'm just gonna tell y'all now. There's gonna be a lot of units to get thrown here, and I'm gonna try and explain to some of them, but for the most part, it's just kind of going there. This is mostly for newer units. I'm not trying to go newer players. I'm not trying to go too in depth, just due to the fact that there's a lot of units, and like, what is it, the video right now is already 11 minutes long, and we haven't even gotten through all the fire units. So we're gonna start speed running through some of these pretty quickly. Like, once again, some of these units, obviously not the worst in the world, but you won't be using them in PvP, and hell, you might not even use them in PvE unless you want to just do it for funsies. In fact, that's probably gonna be what this ends up being for the most part, between the decent and could use a buff tier. And then as for PvP, the reason I put these units here is due to the fact that if you have really good gear, you could use them in PvP, but you can also use them in PvE, but they're mostly just seen here, so there's that. But at the end of the day, it's your game, so I probably should have led with this, but make sure that you're having fun with the game before anything else. So this tier list, obviously, while it's there to help people getting into the game with all the new stuff that we got, obviously choose who you want, or else, you know, you're not gonna have fun with the game, and then at that point, what you even bother playing the game for? You know, games are meant to be fun. But moving on, so we got Ravi here. I'm pretty sure if anybody's watched the EVCC for 2024, or Epic 7 or E7 World Cup, what am I talking about? Yeah, now this character, even though you don't see a lot of it, it's still really useful with her attacks, having an AoE and being able to be really tanky if you put her on the right artifact. Definitely one of the top PvP units, or I would say middle of the farm somewhere, or like middle/lower. Chain, obviously in the decent, or I'd probably even put him in the I put him in the decent. I would say he needed a buff, but I'd say that's alright. Chen, yeah, definitely going in here. Lilica, decent in some content, can even be used in PvP, but you have to have certain characters, and it's just a whole lot of shenanigans you gotta do with her, so that sure as hell ain't happening. Holiday Yufian's kinda in the same block. Hyeyoung got absolutely nerfed after they just destroyed her, so yeah, no, that's not happening. Another thing that you guys should know is that a lot of these units, yes, while they are not the most strong units in the game, all it would take is one buff or one slight change for Smilegate to make them one of the best units in the game. We've seen it before. In fact, if anything with this game, as far as balancing goes, no unit in this game will ever stay useless for long, except for maybe this unit. This is here just for the memes. So even if your unit's not the best right now, it could potentially be the best in the future. We've seen it plenty of times. This game changes a lot. Anyway, moving on down to Arminatha. I cannot say her name. Armatha. I cannot say that right for the life of me, but I could definitely put her in the use a buff tier slash. I'm gonna put okay here. I'm gonna put could use a buff slash okay. No, not the worst, because not all of them need a buff. Let's be real, not all of them need it, but they're okay to have on your account just for funsies. Alyssa's also one of those units. Politis, definitely gonna be up in the PvP. though there are some counters to her currently. There's also some counters that she can put on some other characters. That's why she's there. Bihu, definitely up in the okay-ish. Jinua, we already know he's up in here. Crazy damage up there. He's basically like BBK in a nutshell to a degree. Like, absolute monster unit. Charlotte, put in the okay. Same with Cecilia. She used to be really good in PvE from what I've heard. I don't know exactly how good she was due to the fact that I didn't start when the game first came out, but I heard that she was really good, and then some other characters kind of took over. So while she can be used in some PvE content, there are obviously some better characters. Now moving on to Ball and Sirison, obviously, you know, in the OK tier, same with Elogos and Ilnov, especially this version of Ilnov that got nerfed into the ground. Not the new ML one, but she kind of got nerfed. She's going to need a little bit more than injury to save her at the moment. So that's pretty much it for the fire units. Now moving on down to the water units here, or ice units if you want to call them that, water, ice, whatever you want to go. So Shu, obviously pretty decent in PvP. She is not the toppest of all top tier, but definitely up there with her freaking crazy ass counters. Chloe, definitely going up in here, though she could also be indecent, though I could say she's just alright. Fumir, I would say decent because she can be used in PvP if you get the right scenarios. There's one person I think I saw during the E7 World Cup that used her, and she could definitely be used, but definitely it's one of those characters that's like, you have to have a perfect scenario to use her. Luna, basically there for the waifu. She's just clean waifu material. They gave out a free skin for her recently, so you got a kind of an uncensored skin there. Pera, PvP unit, really good, really fast. If you have a really fast gear, this would be a good unit to use. She gives shield. She makes sure that your opponent's not able to buff, so not bad there. And she also gives an attack buff. No, what else is there not to love? So easily there. Flan, I would say, do you get Flan for free? I'm pretty sure, yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure you get Flan for free through connections. I almost forgot about her because I haven't gotten her in a while. So, Flan, definitely one of the PvE free units that you're not going to want to have to get off your Selector, so don't bother with that. But she's not the worst unit either. Helps with buffing, helps with debuffing the enemy team, or in this case, to be the enemies you're going to be seeing through story mode. Now moving on to the next units we got here. A mid, definitely could be used in PvP, though takes really good gear to mess around with her, though. If you want to test her out, she can be definitely used. And in fact, I would even say she's indecent right now, because right now the meta is kind of shaping up to where she's not being used a lot, though you will see her sometimes. So it really depends on how you build her. So, you know, definitely a PvP unit, but also could be put in decent at the moment. Arya, I would say put in decent as well. In fact, Arya is one of those units where you can use her in Wyvern 13 in order to hunt for speed gear. And I would know because I have done it. Though it's not as consistent, at least the way I've built her so far. Though I've heard that there's some consistent builds out there. If you build her decently, you don't have to build her like max out gear. But considering all we're getting, you know, if you do get Arya, she can definitely be used in Wyvern 13. So that puts her in the decent, I would say PvP, but PvP is one of those units where it's like, okay, now you gotta have a maxed build and all that. So somewhere in between here. Lulica, PvE, defense break, AoE, who, it's one of those units where it's like, she's good, but you won't see a lot of people talk about it. She's one of those units where she can do a lot, but you don't see a lot of people talking about her. So definitely get Lulica, not the worst thing in the world. In fact, she could actually help you a lot in your PvE or your story clear. So not bad there. Lua, moving on down here. PvP easily, just a bit, like a lot of these units that you're gonna see over here, like Lua, Narqual, or like something like Politis or Para, or these like are gonna be your openers mostly, or like even a mid to a degree. You will see these characters be like your opener units that you would use with like Frida or something like that, or this would be like your buffers or whatever is going to be there to help with your cleave team. Like these are cleave units that you're going to be seeing a lot of in especially the, you know, PvE, or not PvP, not PvE, PvP focused meta where you're just going to see these a lot. So moving on down to the next one, Ram, 300 speed. You already know the drill. Just basically go first, and go crazy. Like one of those units where he can be used in PvE. In fact, I have used him in PvE to actually clear some stuff, and he comes pretty clutch sometimes, but at the same time he's mostly used in PvP, where you're just seeing him with 300 plus speed gear and just going absolutely crazy. Moving on to the next one, Brigitte, I would say in the okay. Same with Clarice, you're really only getting her or even bothering with her to get her artifact, which is Guiding Light, which is basically put on every single one of these openers to a degree. I would say Para maybe, but like Lula's getting it, Narqual's getting it, Imid possibly even getting it. Like any opener that you're going to see going first turn is going to be having Guiding Light, which is why a lot of people summon on this character's banner. So there you have it. Biblis, I would say, could be in the okay tier. You don't really see a lot of her actually. She's pretty awkward. I tested her out a little bit. She's not the worst unit in the game, but she's not the best either. Same goes with, of course, Summer Break Charlotte. She's not the worst, but not the best. Lethe could be indecent, though. You have to have her pretty decently built, and she's one of those characters where it's just a scenario that you have to have her, you know, kind of in a perfect / not perfect scenario where it's like kind of like late game to be able to use her. Tywin, obviously in the okay. Seaside Bologna, I would say decent. You can use her in PvP or like arena and whatnot, but she kind of fell off a little bit, so you're mostly seeing her in Wyvern, to be honest. But at the same time, she is some early unit, so you won't be seeing a lot of her. So, moving on, next unit, Corral. Okay unit, not the worst tank in the world, but definitely could use a buff if he's going to be relevant. If he's going to be relevant in any sense of the word. Yeah, no, he's gonna have to go here. Says, you know, okay, Teo, he did get a buff, but I'd still say he's up there, but he's not, you know, up in the decent tier, in my opinion. Moving on to the next one, Ada, obviously here. Alina, she could be in the PvE / decent tier. Once again, one of those scenarios where she can be used, but you have to have really either good gear to use her at a high level, or, you know, I mean, you could potentially even use her in Wyvern, so yeah, you could say PvE, but put her in the decent tier. Diane, decent, is able to give crit, is able to give shields, not a bad unit in my opinion. Elvra, also there in the decent tier, and the only reason I put her here is because she's mostly made to counter units like, of course, Bologna, you know, mostly the ML Bologna, and of course anybody who has fighting spirit to a degree. She was mostly there just to stick in there so they wouldn't be able to use fighting spirit, but a lot of people have gotten around her, so you won't see her as much, though you can possibly see her maybe, but there's just better units to use than her. Though if you needed to use her, she could be a real good counter against a lot of MLs that need fighting spirit. So there you have it. And then Fairy Tale Tenebria, I put in the decent tier as well. Pretty good unit if used the right way, and same with Kisei. Actually, surprisingly enough, I put her in decent as well. But that's pretty much gonna be it for all of our water units. And now moving on to the fire units here, or actually we already did fire, my bad. The grass units, or earth, grass. I'm like mixing Pokemon terms for everything. So let's just knock out some other ones. Okay, Belkin, you need to go down here in the, we're not, I thought I got all the collab units out here, but I didn't apparently, so never mind. But let's go ahead. Zahawk, I don't know where to put him at the moment. I'm gonna keep it a stack, but I haven't really seen too much of him, so I would say he's in the could use a buff / okay at the moment. Though I have seen some pretty crazy Zahawks and on YouTube, or even played against a couple, so he's not the worst. Though you won't probably see a lot of him at a high level, so he's down here. Ocean Breeze Luca, PvP / decent / even PvE. If you build her correctly, she can be just used in all of this. She's one of those units where you can just use her about everywhere, damn near. Vildred, would we put him in the decent tier, or would we put him in the okay tier? I would say okay. He's not the worst unit in the world, but he's not the, you know, the best either. So moving on to the next one, we of course got Euphine. You could use her in Wyvern, or not Wyvern, but Hunt. I keep saying Wyvern. I just realized I've been saying Wyvern the whole time, but I mean to just say Hunt, because I'm not trying to name off all the Wyvern, you know, stages. So pretty good in Hunt if you need to use her, but it's not the greatest thing. So okay, I just put her in the okay-ish tier. Same with a little bit, definitely there. Ray, I would say I was about to say Ray could possibly put in the memes tier. He's just not that good anymore. Same with Orinka. Unfortunately, some of these units just, once again, they will never be the worst units in the game, because obviously there's a chance that they could get a buff, but they're never going to be one of those units where it's like you're going to be seeing them in PvP a lot. Speaking of PvP, you will kind of see, you know, maybe a command like Mono Leica every once in a while. Decent to build really fast, is able to sleep your opponents, also has a dual attack plus gives shield, so not the worst thing in the world. More I'd put in decent, though you have to get really lucky to like get him out there and in a good situation too. I remember last year when they had somebody using him, he just kept getting debuffed over and over because they had used para, and it just didn't go well for him. So there's that. Moonlight, Lilius, the tank destroyer, definitely really good at high PvP and even good in PvE, and like, you can pretty much about use her everywhere. Like really good. It's able to have Pierce, so characters like, of course, Candy or just damn near any tank is just getting this work. Like, she puts in a lot of good damage against tanks and pushes your team, as well as giving an attack boost. What is there not to like? And she also heals herself due to the fact her S1 heals, so all around really decent unit and pretty good on PvP. Mui down here, Pavel down here, Senya can be used in PvP, but most people know how to counter her. In fact, her ammo unit is just so much leaks better, it's not even funny. Sharon, in the OK tier. Yoha, I would say still decent, but probably in the OK tier, but we're just gonna put her in decent for now. Elvron there, Laya, just, you already know, easily one of the best units in the game, if not the best unit in the game currently right now for the grass units, or the earth units, whatever we want to call them. As you probably had seen if you watched the E7 tournament, but for those of you guys who didn't, easily one of those units where if you don't have her on your account, easily one of those units that you need to get right now. Valencia, okay. Bazaar, decent. Bologna, decent, and it can actually be used in PvE too, so definitely have there. Celine, PvP / PvE, can be used about everywhere, really good against a lot of openers that like to put up shields and whatnot, though sometimes people know how to get around her, but let's be real, she's up there. She's like mid-tier at best. Charles, okay-ish. Landy, Green Landy is iffy. I would say she's in the decent, but she could also use a buff. She kind of fell off pretty hard recently, so, or not even recently, it's been a long time since we've actually seen this Landy be any good. So unless you get real creative with her, I don't think you've seen her a lot in PvP, but she could definitely be used. Blooming Ludica, okay, but also decent depending on how you build her. She's one of those units where, once again, special circumstances will allow you to be able to use them correctly, but for the most part you're just not going to see them. Ludwig just needs to be buffed, and Violet, I mean, he can be used, he's decent, but his ML variant is just way better, and especially considering that he got buffed and all that. So I mean, this is pretty much it for the tier list as far as the characters that we have currently. And I will say that as far as, if you, depending on what you're going for, like if you're trying to get your units geared up, like you got a pretty good selection of units to gear up and be able to go through the store. In fact, with newer players, you guys just have like a huge advantage over how older players get started. Like the only advantage that older players have at this point is the fact that they started before you, so they got all the gear, you know, they got the characters. But as far as anniversaries go, if we were all to start at the same time, you newer players have had it. You guys are eating good. You guys are eating really freaking good. Like, holy crap. But without further ado, that's pretty much gonna be it for my tier list here. I know there's a lot of tier lists running around, so make sure to look at the others as well, just so you guys have an overall opinion of anything else going on. Make sure that you also make sure that the tier list is made this year, because a lot of things have changed with this new update. In fact, pretty much all the old tier lists that I've made from like 2020 to 2023 and on are basically pointless at this point. So without further ado, that's pretty much gonna be it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. ShinobiEevee sign off. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know how you guys think of my tier list down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.